Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2020 science fiction film Solitary, a film that is written and directed by Luke Armstrong, and it stars Johnny Sacon, Lottie Tolhurst and Michael Absalom. Now, this film focuses on Isaac, who essentially is sent into space as a prisoner. He is captured for supposedly killing someone. He is sent into space in this capsule. It's like this new program where they send prisoners into space. This is set in 2044. The Earth is in dire straits, so they're kind of using prisoners as guinea pigs and sending them up into space in the hope of trying to like relocate the population, all that kind of stuff. And when he wakes in this like prisoner pod in space, he discovers that he has a cellmate, a woman called Alana, and there has been some kind of accident on his craft, and the only access he has is to this voice operated computer, who and some voice contact with like mission control on Earth and an occasional reporter that keeps hacking in to ask questions. And he and his cellmate essentially have to try and figure out what's going on, conduct repairs as and where they can, and try and figure out how they can get back to Earth safely. However, there may be something a little bit more sinister going on within that pod, capsule, whatever. Right, what are my thoughts on Solitary? Well, I like a good science fiction film. I think science fiction, when it's done right, can be really creative and imaginative, and so it's arguably my favourite genre when it's done right. And I'm not saying when it's done right it has to be like big budget like Star Wars and Aliens and all that kind of stuff. No, I've seen plenty low budget science fiction films that have sparked my imagination. And the premise of this film is a good one, I think. The execution, unfortunately, lets this film down, and let me try and explain that. Right, so the premise here of, I think it's quite an interesting idea. We all know that Earth is in environmental dire straits as we speak now, so in 2044 stands to reason it's only going to be worse. So you wouldn't put this past governments doing this sort of thing. So the premise is certainly interesting, using prisoners as guinea pigs and that sort of thing, but I just don't feel as though they do enough with it. The problem here is that for 95% of this film you've just got these two characters in this cell, Isaac and Alana. One of them isn't exactly being open and honest about who they are and what they're doing there, which is no surprise because they're both prisoners. And through a series of flashbacks you have a little bit more trust with Isaac's character. He seems like a victim of circumstance, really. But there's something not right with his cellmate, but you're just not quite sure what. And there's something just not right with this scenario that they're in, but you're just not sure what. However, I've personally found that the mystery here of the film wasn't interesting enough to keep me engaged in the film, unfortunately. It needed more tension building. It needed more real mystery. It needed a few more, some form of red herrings or something. There was a couple of vital ingredients missing from this film, I think, to elevate it to something that would be really, really watchable. As it stands right now, what we have is a at times interesting watch with a decent premise, with some decent performances. I didn't have a problem with any of the performances here by the lead characters and actors. They all do a decent enough job. The effects on display here are certainly passable and quite impressive at times, and there's some interesting cinematography going on occasionally. So all the ingredients are there, it would seem, to make an interesting, engaging film. For me, it just needed a little bit more stirring of the pot writing wise, throw in a couple of more ingredients to really spice up this film and really get you engaged and interested in these characters, because I didn't find the flashbacks were enough to get me interested in these characters, and one of the characters only gets flashbacks really later on, which was more of a reveal than anything. And the constant interruptions, if you like, from ground control, and this reporter that keeps hacking in almost and asking questions, because it starts to get like global news of this accident in space, so everyone starts getting interested with what's going on up there. You don't feel as though that was expanded enough. There was a couple of scenes where there was like a news report on it, but it felt very low key. They didn't expand that at all. It didn't feel as I don't know, as big a story as it could have been. And I know they had budget limitations here. It's only a small budgeted film. And I do get the impression that they did what they could with the budget in regards to what's on screen, in regards to the actors that they hired do a decent job, the effects are decent, cinematography is decent. So I think the cast and crew, I think they spent the money as they could in the best areas. I just feel as though, like I say, some of the writing, it needed a couple of ingredients to spice it up, to really add to that intrigue and mystery of this film, because unfortunately what we kind of get left with is a poorly paced, uninteresting film at times. I think someone's going to watch that and think that is, I did sometimes, but I could see underneath it and see that there was definitely a decent idea and a decent premise here. I just think unfortunately the execution was a little bit off. So that is my review for Solitary. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. About an average watch really, I would suggest. But if you've watched the film, let me know what you think. And of course I will be back with more reviews on Screen Stars very, very soon.